Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for October of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening this month. And by the way, Sag, your birthday is coming soon. If you haven't scheduled your yearly birthday reading yet, there's still time to do it before your birthday, which is the most powerful time to do it. This lets you ritualize your personal New Year's moment and jump into your year empowered to make it the best one ever. It also comes with fantastic affirmations you can use all year to create your best life. You'll find a link for it in the description below. Well, near the beginning of the month, we have a rather momentous event that happens only once a year, and that is Pluto changing direction. At the beginning of the month, it's retrograde, and you can see that little red RX symbol right there. And then right on the 10th, boom, it goes direct. The little red RX symbol goes away. So Pluto's been traveling through Capricorn for 15 years. And so at this point, when Pluto goes direct, he is going to finish out his 15-year journey through Capricorn, and will finish that out by the end of the year. And in January, we'll move into Aquarius to stay. So no more Pluto in Capricorn, not in any of our lifetimes that is alive today, even babies. Not going to have that again. And thank God, because it's been super harsh. Pluto will continue in Aquarius until 2043, so about 20 years. But what does this mean for you? Pluto has been transforming us really powerfully, most particularly relative to authority and authority figures and our own sense of authority, as long as it's been in Capricorn. And so if you are going through a Pluto transit this year, and you feel like you've been in a really deep, heavy change, and you're feeling kind of like morose, and like you're in the long dark night of the soul, be aware that now, when Pluto goes direct, that process can move forward and get some closure by the end of the year. So I think that brings a lot of relief. Pluto for you, Sagittarius, has been traveling through your second house, transforming your experience of money, food, and being in your own body. So you may have had some really intense old trauma come up sometime in the last 15 years about body image, around food and eating, health and health concerns, safety and security, as well as money and finance. Pluto's been transforming that stuff really intensely, and fortunately, he's getting ready to move on. Juno starts the month in Leo. You can see her right here, traveling along through your 9th house. Juno is all about collaboration, partnership, social leadership. She's the queen of heaven, the matchmaker of the zodiac. And so she brings a social life to whatever area she's passing through, in this case, the 9th house. This is a house of travel and adventure and exploration and growth. While Juno is in this house, which usually takes about 2 months, is a really great time for traveling with your committed partner, if you have one. Going on a journey, getting on a growth path together, learning something together. And it can be a really fun adventure while Juno is passing along this house, resulting in a feeling of mutual freedom and spaciousness in the relationship. Now, if you're single while Juno is passing through your 9th house, and as you can see, she's almost done this house. I'll give you the date when she leaves very shortly. But if you're single while Juno's in the 9th house, you might find yourself attracted expressly to exotics, people who are from a very different cultural background than yourself, in whatever way that might manifest, in terms of like religion or sect of religion, or race or ethnicity or worldview perspective, or just going to a different church or whatever. There can be that sense of difference which stimulates growth and would make you attracted to partner with that person. So that's something to keep in mind. Juno's going to enter Virgo on the 17th. Right there. There she goes into your 10th house. And so Juno brings her social management, social leadership, and even matchmaking sensibility to your career domain when she enters your 10th house. She's going to be here through November. So definitely enough time to do some matchmaking at work, which is to say to connect up with the right people, schmooze the right people that you need to be connected with at work, and maybe introduce some people to each other who need to know each other so that there can be stronger human ties in the workplace that you're in. Definitely intensified by having Venus here, but Julia will tell you about Venus in a minute. And then the third thing I want to tell you about is Ceres. She is traveling along through Scorpio and in your 12th house. Now, Ceres definitely struggles in Scorpio, and I mentioned her themes a minute ago when I was talking about the second house where Pluto is, because Ceres rules the second house naturally. And so she is concerned with these themes of food, body, and money. And wherever Ceres goes, it's good to take a quality of good stewardship and a practical approach to that arena. But the struggle is that Ceres is all about stability and consistency, and she's in Scorpio, which is very tempestuous, especially emotionally, and prone to extremes and highs and lows. So it can be very difficult to maintain stability, especially financial stability, while Ceres is moving through Scorpio. And that can be true for any of us. In your case, more specifically, the 12th house is a house of dreaminess and otherworldliness. It is a house of spirit. So this could be a really good transit for charity, for charitable donations, and for figuring out how those can work in your favor tax-wise. So that would be a really good use of this transit. But you have to watch out for leaking financially while Ceres is in your 12th house. She's going to be here through the rest of this month and into next month. So definitely there's a strong consideration here about when you give money away, who do you give it to? Do they deserve it? Are they going to do something with it that's supportive in the world in general? Or are you just kind of wasting, that gift? So you might want to bring some discernment into your gifting during this transit, especially financial gifting. Hey, Julia, what's up with Venus, Mars, and Mercury this month?
Well, they're all moving around this month. Venus is direct this month. She just turned direct last month, where she had a whole retrograde season this summer. And she's gaining some speed in the sign of Leo, which correlates with your 9th house. This is a house of travel. It's a house of learning and adventure. Now, she's in this house for the first 8 days of the month. This would be a fabulous time to take a pleasure trip. Wherever we have Venus is where we do get some enjoyment in life, and the 9th house rules far away places. And if you can't go far away, or maybe even plan your next trip, then this is a wonderful time to expand your mental horizons, maybe learn something new, or do something adventurous, try something new. This is a very experience-oriented house. And especially if you have a partner, bring them along for the ride, because you'll enjoy them more if you guys are having a shared adventure together. Then by October 8th, Venus enters your 10th house, where she's going to be for the rest of the month. This is a house of career. It is a house of public reputation. If you're in a relationship, you might be making it more public somehow by the end of the month, whether that's introducing your partner to your work colleagues or updating your status on social media. This is a very public house, and Venus is a relationship planet. It is a great time for getting along well with people you work with too, and also gaining the favor of your boss with Venus in the 10th. Now, Mars starts the month in your 11th house. This is the house of friends, social networks. It's also the house of your dreams and goals. Now, Mars is a planet that represents where a lot of your energy is going into that month, what area of life. And in the 11th, Mars is really very, doggedly going after some goal that you have. Maybe you're being a little impulsive or impatient about it, and really putting a lot of work towards it. It can also be a time where you might run into flare-ups, especially around group dynamics. Like if you find yourself in a network of people, like a professional association or some community meetup, Mars in there might make things a little fiery, might make things a little competitive too. So that's something also to be aware of, but it can be a great transit for putting in a group effort. Now, by October 11th, Mars enters the 12th house. So for the rest of the month, you're not going to be really putting your energy towards long-term goals. It's going to be going into more sort of ethereal and remote places because the 12th house is a very isolated place. And it can oftentimes, it can be a little bit of a difficult house, especially for Mars, because Mars is just so direct. And the 12th house is probably the most indirect place, the most confused and diffuse place in the zodiac. So the best way to handle Mars in the 12th house is to either put your energy towards something that serves something higher than yourself in some way, whether that's towards a charity or volunteer work or towards something spiritual or something creative, but to where you really feel like you're transcending your ego. If you can put your energy towards those types of things for the rest of the month, then you can get something very fruitful from it. And it's a good time for getting a lot of work and things done by yourself. So especially with Venus in the 10th at around the same time, if you could get a lot of work done, especially towards your career on your own, that could be a wonderful use of this transit. Now, finally, Mercury, who's also direct this month, also gaining more and more speed, starts off in your 10th house for just the first 4 days. Again, putting your mind, your planning, your organization towards your workplace. Then by October 4th, Mercury enters your 11th house. Again, this is the house of friends, networks, and long-term goals. So Mercury in the 11th is very good for planning, for organizing, for strategizing around long-term goals of yours. Your mind might be very idealistic during this time, thinking about the future, thinking about what it is you want to achieve and how you have to put those steps forward to get there. And Mercury in the 11th is a great time for asking your friends for advice, for doing any type of speaking in front of a group, like if you have to do a presentation at work, if you have to, if you speak at AA meetings, because the 11th house represents those networks and Mercury is where we find our voice. So great time for asking your networks for some advice, reaching out to friends and the people that you know, to get your best ideas ahead of you. Oh, and I just saw here, excuse me, on the 19th, just missed this bit, Mercury conjoins the sun while direct. And this is happening in your 11th house too. So this is a very important day. It's called a greater epiphany day because Mercury is going forward while doing this versus going retrograde when that's lesser epiphany day. And this, I love epiphany days because there are times where you could really, really get a lot of clarity. And this is happening in the 11th house, like I said, so you could be getting clarity on your long-term hopes, wishes, and dreams. You could be getting clarity about a friend in your life too, which is ruled by the 11th house, or something having to do with groups in your life as well. So definitely keep track of October 19th and the ideas that are coming out around then, because they may prove to be quite significant.
Absolutely. Hi, Jamie here. Horoscopes and moon videos are fun, but they don't go very deep, really. If you want depth and personal clues, you'll want to join our monthly live workshop where you can talk with a real astrologer about your own chart. This month's topic is undergoing Pluto transformations with power and grace. Because Pluto transits feel like a long, dark night of the soul, and psychological death and rebirth is hard for all of us. In the workshop, I'll explain how to navigate these biggest of all life's changes smoothly. This workshop is expressly for our Demigod Patreon subscribers who pay only $15 a month for access to live events like this one. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video. Well, I have 2 eclipses to tell you about. It's eclipse season, actually, now. And that happens every 6 months. You may only hear about eclipses in the news very, very periodically, but they're always happening. Some of them are just, more interesting than others. So this eclipse season features a solar eclipse followed by a lunar eclipse. The solar eclipse happens on October 14th, and here it is in Libra in your 11th house. We're calling this one Stop Placating honesty heals. And the reason for that is that this eclipse is at the south node and it's in Libra. And there is such a strong vibe of people pleasing here, like people pleasing behaviors, maybe passive aggression, maybe just a sort of a lack of directness and clarity of will that needs to be released, needs to be let go of. And because this eclipse lands in your 11th house, this eclipse is likely to manifest in the form of behavior within your social group, which means that you could be at a party and somebody's behaving badly, or you could be behaving badly at that party, or there could be bad behavior even online in a social group. But it does tend to show up mostly as bad behavior, an external experience, as opposed to the internal experience that a lunar eclipse is. And I'll speak to that in a minute. This eclipse really wants you to let go of any tendencies of placating and, like I said, passive aggression, especially around friends and community and in those contexts, and instead to lean into honesty, directness, transparency, and that can be very healing, and it can get you back in touch with your own authenticity. Per this Chiron right here that's hanging out with the North Node. So this one is really promising in terms of what it offers, letting go of superficial layers that just aren't real and embracing honesty, even though it's uncomfortable. The second eclipse is coming up on October 28th. And this is the lunar eclipse of the month. It's right here in the sign of Taurus. It lands in your 6th house. Not far from the North Node in Aries. So this is what we call an initializing eclipse. And it opposes the sun right here in Scorpio, which is nearer to the South Node in Libra. So we've named this one Release Ties, Lean into Independence. And the sun side of this with the South Node is very much, it's very mergy. It's mergy in the sense of, like, because it lands in your 12th house, there may be some old tendencies that you have to, I want to say, like, be very aware of the feelings, the emotional weather in the atmosphere, and to try to placate people who seem to be in pain before they even ask for it. And that you may have some, unconscious, like, I want to say, codependent bonds that have really been holding you back. And this eclipse could be a really great time to release that stuff and to lean into your independence, especially financially, with this moon here in Taurus in your 6th house. So some of this could show up in terms of having some emotions, particularly in the workplace. Now, I've mentioned before many times here and elsewhere that eclipses show us our shadow. And a lunar eclipse shows us our shadow relative to our emotions, to how we feel. And so it's mostly experienced internally, although sometimes those emotions can spill out and other people see and experience them. So if I were you, I would definitely watch out. Now, fortunately, this one is happening on a Saturday, at least in American time zones. It's happening on a Saturday. And so chances of this actually impacting your workplace might be pretty small. And that's a good thing. But if you do happen to work on a Saturday, like if you are wait staff for a restaurant, for example, just watch out for having some kind of a tantrum, and walking out on the job or some such thing. Just don't let your emotions run away from you underneath this eclipse, but do lean into independence, especially financial independence. And check out the videos about these moons. You can find them on our website, pandoraastrology.com, on our monthly forecast page. And both of the videos say a lot more about these moons. So we have the seasonal shift, which happens on October 23rd. And you can see it right here. The sun leaves Libra, moves on into Scorpio, which is your 12th house. And this is part of a total emphasis over the course of the month where a lot of the energy started out in Libra and travels on into Scorpio as the month comes to a close. Wherever the sun goes, we want to shine the light of consciousness and spread attention around like sunlight, encouraging things to thrive and flourish. But paradoxically, the sun is here entering into your 12th house, which is a house of spirit and retreat and turning inward and otherworldly matters, not very physical or outer worldly of a domain at all. And so this does suggest that it is time to pull inward, Sagittarius, and it is really just, it's really what it's pointing to is that here is where you enter your yearly mop-up period, which is the last 30 days before your birthday. So yours will begin, if you are a sun sign Sagittarius watching this horoscope, this will begin officially for you when it's 30 days before your birthday. And that is absolutely a time to go inward, to retreat a little bit, to introvert a little bit, to begin to clear away the factors of the previous year and get some closure with them so that you can get ready for your new year to begin. And even if you are a Sagittarius rising rather than a Sagittarius sun, this is still going to be a time when you feel like pulling away from others, maybe doing a little meditation, maybe doing some visualizations, just pulling into yourself and away from the rest of the world for a time until the sun crosses over into your first house when things get a lot more exciting. So there's that to look forward to next month.
Well, that's all for today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, then please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly Patreon workshops. Find the link in the description below to get started. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.